Hey everybody, Wizard and the Bruiser and Page 7 are going back on the road this summer. That's right, Release the Butthole Cut Tour returns. Where are we going, Jake?
Oh, you can find us in Salt Lake City, Denver, Las Vegas, Portland, Tacoma, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, and St. Louis, Missouri.
LastPodcastNetwork.com for tickets. Go to LastPodcastNetwork.com for Page 7 and Wizard and the Bruiser present Release the Butthole Cut Tour.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Okay. You guys ready?
Well, then let's not sing the song because he's going to flag the episode.
I know. I don't want to get in his way. I
We don't want to mess with that.
I don't want to actually
artist.
pay the cheese tax.
No.
Yes.
An artist and his art, nothing comes between it.
So, guys, I just wanted, before the show even began, I wanted to pepper with you some of my best material I got here.
Yeah?
Mass hysteria. What's that? Is that what Oprah goes through every 6 months?
What does that even mean?
Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. Are you?
What the fudge does it mean?
Yeah. Are you talking about
Ballooning in weight and size.
Oh my God!
In and out.
But
you're
you
going
don't
to
do
make
mass
fun
hysteria?
of Oprah. You're going to make fun of April. Oh,
mass
you know
hysteria?
what? Let's.
And you're also making fun of Oprah from like 15 years ago.
Mass hysteria. What is this? My new boutique gym?
That makes
Let's
less
redo.
sense.
We have to redo this intro. What does this even mean?
Mass hysteria? What are we talking about? Oprah's. Oprah?
What the fuck? Okay, welcome to the last podcast of
Ricky
the
Lake.
Ricky Lake.
Why are you referencing talk show hosts from the 90s?
People that lost a lot of weight and suddenly gained a lot of weight and
You.
lost.
But how is that?
Mass hysteria? Henry Zabrowski's problem.
Oh my God. I don't even understand hysteria. I don't understand the hysteria and weight loss and weight gain thing.
Yeah.
Mass hysteria? What is this? Some form of long, extreme marathon set in the Boston area?
I don't. Wow. Wow, I'm
Mass
confused.
hysteria?
What, are you focusing on the word mass?
Or the word hysteria? Massachusetts? Is that
See,
was
I
that the
think
last
that's
time?
how-
Boston Mass. He said Boston Mass.
Yes.
Mass. But how does hysteria tie into a marathon?
It doesn't make sense.
Because I said extreme, kind of like a Tough Mudder.
Wow, but it actually, I understand
Now
now.
you're talking about racehorses.
I am really very good.
I'm hysterical, so I think you actually did a good job.
See?
Welcome to the last podcast of the left, everyone.
Mass
Ben.
hysteria?
It doesn't make sense. Ben hanging out with Marcus and Henry. Today's episode, I bet you figured it out. It's not about weight gain, weight loss amongst celebrities of the 90s. It's about mass hysteria through time.
Now, we've talked about a fair amount of mass hysterias here on Last Podcast, from larger scale, long-lasting, consequential movements like the Salem witch trials to smaller, cryptid outbreaks like the Spring-Heeled Jack saga.
Away we go.
Oh.
Most hysterias, however, like those surrounding the nuns of Loudun, lie somewhere in between historically significant and a merely curious set of incidents.
I will say a lot of mass hysterias, maybe it's got to do with even the name itself. It really does have a lot to do with tits.
You think so?
When there was Spring Hill Jack was all about like squeaking and bouncing,
Yes.
right? Which is frowned upon. these
Of
days,
course.
you know?
And I think it was then as well.
And there was other breast-centered hysterias. There was a belly hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
the belly dancing hysteria of the 1920s. We just don't know.
Well, these hysterias lie in the realm where the mental and physical faculties that keep us tethered to the earth temporarily break for reasons science does not fully understand.
There are certain things that science can't understand. Like the inner workings of
The female mind, is that what you want to say?
I'm very hungover from the 419 show. I took a lot of edibles last night.
Yeah.
60 edibles. I woke up still stoned. You were all just
Wow.
NPCs to me.
I watched
That's
him
what
house,
happened.
I watched him house these enormous edibles and then house 3 more after that.
And how was the show?
The show was great. I just don't know what
Wow.
happened afterwards.
Got you.
Well, I talked a lot. And I don't really remember a heck of a lot that I said.
I do remember him saying that he was scared a lot.
I
Okay.
did. I felt like scared but pleasant.
Okay, mass hysteria.
And so today, we're going to explore two kinds of mass hysterias. There is, of course, collective delusions, in which a large group of people succumb to a certain false rumor or assertion, then turn that rumor into an accepted reality that thereafter causes panic or aggressive behavior. January 6th, 2021 would be a prime example.
I think even a better example, Richard Gere's asshole. At no point was there a gerbil, a hamster inside Richard Gere's ass.
I did think about that. I also thought about the Troy Aikman getting his stomach pumped for cum rumor.
That was real.
That was also real. However, it did not result in aggressive behavior or panic.
I don't know. We can ask Richard Gere.
Oh, yeah.
Because I guarantee you people are like, what's in there? What's in there, Richie?
You know what that's called?
What?
Ass hysteria.
Curious.
More fascinating, however, is the idea of mass psychogenic illness, where people actually become afflicted with an illness or they suffer from the symptoms of an illness without any pathogen or catalyst other than social and cultural influences.
Ooh, this would be like mass exorcisms, things of that nature, perhaps?
Linsanity.
Linsanity, Jeremy Lin. Good reference.
Deep New York City deep cut.
Nice.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Linsanity was the man.
You only remember that from New York Post covers, don't you?
Yep.
He did it.
You know what flea causes? Bass hysteria. Base hysteria.
Base hysteria. Real good. Wow.
We got it fucking.
You should have stopped him yesterday from eating all these edibles, Marcus.
He ate it real fast. It was,
He
like
must
it was
have.
like a dog eating a fucking piece of chocolate
man.
on the floor. You want to just grab it from him and you can't.
late.
It's too late.
Wow.
And then I have astigmatism.
Wow.
And so the lights from the crowd, like they were getting super glary and it looked like I
Yeah.
was talking to fairies.
Cool. All right. What a show.
Well, epidemic hysteria, as it's called, it is a somatic disorder, meaning it's a mental disorder in which an individual has actual physical symptoms, but without the medical condition that is associated with those symptoms.
Havana syndrome.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, because if you're feeling the effects of something that even if you don't have it, you kind of have it.
But it's true. Again, it's like, do you think a thing or are you the thing?
Yeah. For example, one might vomit uncontrollably. They might sleep very little. They might suffer from night sweats. They might deal with constant fatigue, which, if you look it up on the internet,
Makes you a podcaster.
if you look it up on the internet, you're going to see lymphoma.
Sure.
But when you go-
because you looked it up on the internet.
Yeah, but
Which
even-
is like a catastrophe
Yeah,
machine.
but you're showing all of the symptoms of having lymphoma.
Right.
But when you go to a doctor, he says, there's no lymphoma. Who fucking knows what's wrong with you?
And then the doctor goes back and makes fun of you with all the nurses.
Yeah.
Right. They do that.
Now, I'll say from experience that most of the time when a doctor shrugs and give a diagnosis of, oh, you're just stressed, that's the sign of a lazy, baffled, or, to be fair, overworked doctor.
Inserting his own vicious, vile hate of doctors.
It's about creating his own narrative and sticking to it.
I like it.
But overdiagnosed or not, somatic illnesses are very real, and nowhere are they more on stark display than during hysterical epidemics.
Great time for comedy.
Mass hysteria is sometimes when you're trapped in an elevator and you can't get out.
That would be.
Yeah.
That would be scary.
But how's that mass?
Too big.
It could be a large elevator, to be fair.
We saw some mass hysteria when Kissel broke the chair before we were leaving for Australia, and they had to give him the bottle of wine.
That's true.
They didn't have to. They felt bad for me.
That was their hysteria.
Yes, indeed.
Well, in a physical sense, the symptoms shown during these epidemics have no plausible organic basis. The symptoms are transient and benign, and they show a mysteriously rapid onset and recovery.
They're also a lot of times highly unusual.
Yeah.
They're very strange, very specific. We don't know where the hell they're coming from. You kind of wonder, like, how'd y'all get the same idea at the same time?
Mhm.
Right.
And it's because we are all connected via a series of mitochondria, right? Like, let's get into this. Our mitochondria actually are little, like, 5G little portals inside of our brains that broadcast to each other. Our pituitary gland, it's like a drain, right? A drain for all of your thoughts to run through into the back of my head, which I call the yard.
Well,
and the yard
that's
is where all
good.
the other thoughts are.
Okay.
Well, absolutely. And that's why good improv can exist. Pro wrestling can exist. Coexistence.
But in pro wrestling, don't they just like pinch each other's nipples?
They do that, but they also have some. It's like mind melding. It's a mind meld.
Because you go like, I'm going to do the suplex. And you're rolling.
But there's a mind meld.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the leg. I'm going to put it up. I'm the Undertaker.
Jamming. You get a bunch of musicians together
Start
jamming. You
Here,
just-
well, show an example.
Wow.
There's a crow in the room.
That's crazy.
Well, socially, these hysterias.
That's really good.
It's hard to come out of a jam that fast.
It's hard.
It's like
That's a
whiplash.
whiplash. Yeah, that's tough. Wow, we're like the string cheese incident.
Well, socially, these hysterias most often occur in segregated groups where anxiety is high. Places like Salem, Massachusetts in the 17th century.
Oh, yeah.
As in Salem, the symptoms are spread through communication, whether it be seeing the symptoms or simply hearing about the symptoms, which is how the witch menace spread across Massachusetts. Remember, it wasn't just Salem.
Hey, excuse me, all. I think I heard some symptoms in here.
Yes, indeed. The witch menace is around.
Most interestingly, I think, when it comes to humans being tribal primates at the end of the day, the spread often, but not always, moves down the age scale, starting with older, higher status people and moving down. QAnon, for example, didn't truly take hold until older people in power started talking about it and giving it credence.
Well, because then we're getting some kind of confirmation from somebody that might know, and then you don't realize that actually a hot dog vendor can be elected to the House of Representatives if they have enough. Like, that's what I'm saying. And so it just kind of shows, anybody could be in the government.
Yeah.
Anybody at all. Which is the point, is it not?
Is it not? You have to sell your soul a little bit.
Oh, of course.
Certain things. And
You have to sell your soul to do fucking anything, man.
Yeah.
You do.
How do you have to sell your soul to become that hot dog vendor in the first place?
First of all, you're part of Big Nitrate.
You're definitely big nitrate. You can't like pigs. Your family might as well be dead because you're working all the time.
Most of the time, you're sending money home to someplace else.
Yeah.
Or you're a niche, like gourmet hot dog guy.
Sure.
But then you're
that
past
is-
vendor. Now you're not a vendor.
Yeah.
And also, let's not be too fancy with it. It's a hot dog. Let's have fun with it.
Oh, yeah. Now, since
But you could be a vegan and you're forced to sell hot dogs because you need to make money.
vegan hot dogs.
No, you would sell meat hot dogs, but you are a vegan.
Oh.
That would be a conflict of interest.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you both for answering my question so
It is
succinctly
so-
and
People do
intellectually.
compromise.
It's
They compromise.
incredible how much selling out happens at all times.
You have to do it sometimes.
Now, since hysterical epidemics are a social affliction, the cure partly comes from removing the afflicted from the social element. The area in which the hysteria is occurring must be quarantined, and individuals experiencing the symptoms have to be separated. That's why you take Facebook away from mom and dad when they get too crazy with it.
Yes.
Please.
But again, in Salem, the failure to do this is what made the whole tragedy worse. By keeping the afflicted girls together during the witch examinations, authorities were exacerbating the physical and mental symptoms, which made the infernal tortures appear to be all too real. Now, had those girls been separated, or better yet, removed from the courtroom altogether, then there's little doubt that the hysteria would have reached the fever pitch that it did, where so many people needlessly died.
If a couple of more clever town leaders could have taken all of those twitching women down to the river and said, hey, I know you guys got a lot of energy out here. Everybody's let's work this out. First of all, let's get you out of these coarse clothes.
You want to open up a strip club.
And then, like, first of
You
all,
want to open up a witchy strip club, which, yes, does sound fantastic.
It does.
Yes, let's just begin a goth dance naked night.
What about
now.
let him go to school?
Oh,
That might be good.
it's already proved to be difficult.
But to that point, there's really no way to prevent mass sociogenic illness because it is difficult for humans to recognize when it's actually happening. To wit, hysterias almost always occur as an outcropping of the cultural anxieties of the era and location in which they occur.
One day, I'd love to talk to an expert in this field.
There's very few. That's the problem, is that there actually aren't experts in this field.
It's very difficult to put together because, like, how do you put this? Each man is an island in their own way, right? Like your computer
Kind
now.
of.
Like,
Sure.
now we've made algorithms be an exteriorization of our, like, little windows into the world. That the fact that you don't know, most people don't know that what they see on their computer is actually different than what other people say on their computer. And so they're creating their own, like, echo chamber inside their own head. But then your own brain is also very dedicated in keeping you locked into your own perspective.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Like, empathy
It
is
is.
a learned skill, I think. Like, you have to figure out that other people view things from other angles and have things outside of them that are factors to create who they are. And it's something like this shows that, like, it's kind of a flaw in our consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
That we can get locked onto a thing, and it really would take your whole life bottoming out for you to understand that you've been incorrect.
Yeah.
Or do you just take the pill and stay in the Matrix.
Sure, and because then
you're just like, sweet, I love it.
We talked about with QAnon that it's all like it's about the friends you made along the way. January 6th was just more of a fun afternoon for a lot of these guys because they did not understand really kind of what they were in the middle of, that they were volunteering to be a part of.
Yeah.
Well, some definitely did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some.
Came heavily armed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they were taking it to the next step. They were taking it really seriously.
And some of them were heavy in the arms, but most of them were heavy in the middle part of the body.
I saw a lot of that. A lot of butts.
Mass hysteria.
There we go.
Well, as I just said, even though mass hysteria is used to explain away all manner of events, whether it be, the aforementioned January 6th.
It's very much like a swamp gas.
Yeah, UFOs. It's also used to explain that away. It's used to explain away Mothman, any sort of cryptid sighting, any sort of flap. Flaps are usually ascribed to mass hysteria.
All the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Studies on the phenomenon are few, and experts in the field are scant. What we do know is that there are typically two forms of epidemic hysteria. The first is seemingly more common, mass anxiety hysteria. It's basically societal paranoia, and one can use it to explain pretty much every satanic panic in history, from QAnon to the devil cult accusations leveled at North American daycares in the early 90s.
Yeah, because they're feeling this paranoia. Times are tight, right? Things are intense in the country, and so that kind of feeds some kind of inner mechanism. But again, we don't know what the hell it is.
Not to mention the cover of the Ghoulies. How many people think that Ghoulies are in their toilets to this day? Simply because of that cover.
That's why. What's the name of that kitty litter we've been working with? They have been my savior.
I think it's Cat.
Well, Pretty Litter?
Pretty Litter.
It's been so good to just let loose in a bucket of Pretty Litter because, again, no ghoulies.
No ghoulies.
Because I can check the bottom of it.
This toilet's ghoulie free, trust me.
Uh-oh. Now it's ghoulie full.
No, that ain't right. Mass hysteria.
Well, for example, in 1992, in the town of Martinsville in Saskatchewan, a parent alleged that someone at a local daycare run out of the owner's home had sexually abused her child. Serious allegations.
Very serious.
But as it often happened in the early 90s when it came to daycares and sex abuse allegations, the case soon spiraled into the realm of the satanic.
Yes, but not the fun. No. They can't do the horns.
No,
It doesn't. It's not fun.
It's
here.
not. This isn't fun.
No. But pretty soon, the accuser was roping in everyone she could on these allegations, alleging that the daycare owner's entire family was involved in the molestation, along with members of 3 nearby police departments.
Oh, mama.
Allegedly, they all belonged to a devil-worshipping cult called the Brotherhood of the Ram, who specialized in drugging, beating, and sodomizing children.
That's the only thing I don't like.
That's good. Those are strong principles, Henry.
Yes, they did it. They took them out of the daycare and brought them to a quote-unquote devil church.
That's not good.
It's just, again, it's very difficult to get real estate. I don't think you guys understand that.
It is.
Now, never mind that there wasn't a shred of physical evidence for these insane allegations. About 100 charges were soon filed against over a dozen people.
Wow.
And the local papers were reporting that 30 children had been sexually abused before they'd been locked in freezers and forced to drink the blood of cult members.
Well, that's not good.
That's not.
That's what I would say if I was there right now. Go back. Ben Kissel, my age. I read the paper and say, well, that's not, honey. This ain't good.
I can see you there in the devil church as they're molesting and bleeding all the children. You'd be like, hey, guys, let's think about this a second time.
That's not good.
Well, so intense was the fear felt by this small town that when a local priest called the police station one night to tell them that a horde of murderous devil worshippers were on their way at that very moment, the police chief took him seriously.
So
all of the dudes in the police department, they brought up their shotguns. They set up barricades.
It's very
nothing
interesting.
happened.
But nothing happened,
Of
huh?
course.
Yes.
Nothing happened because there were no Satanists.
But
there was
what if
never...
something did happen?
What if it
Be
did?
prepared.
Yes, but that's why January 6th, I kind of say, whatever with it. It's weird. There are things that are weird within it because what you saw was that there was a mass hysteria moment building, and then there were architects on top that obviously saw benefits from what this could all do. And I do believe it was on all sides where they were like, how do we spin this entire event? And that's why they walked in, they didn't know what to do. There were like doors let open for them. It's a bunch of sketchy shit inside of that.
Well, all of that stuff was, that was them trying to get the. Anyway, I don't want to talk about gender.
But you know what I mean? It's something like this where these things blow up because there are people in various influential spots that watch these things build and they think, how do we benefit from this wave?
Yeah.
But there was a lot. The reason that they were being escorted around is because they were trying to get them away from all the politicians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I know.
then it would- yeah.
But then that's when it's a long.
It's a whole. It was a whole day.
It's a whole
It was a
day.
day.
No, I remember.
It was America's big day.
It was
Definitely.
America's big day.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it
I'm
was
not
America's-
even doing July 4th anymore.
America's
I'm
Day
only
Out.
doing Jan 6.
I was wondering why
When do
you
we
were
get-
why you stood in the middle of the 101 with the chair with those sparklers and the American flag this year.
That would be fun. Ooh, mattress sales.
Well, the idea that the police actually bought into this panic that a horde of Satanists were coming, it's incredible.
Yes.
Because the police officers were themselves the ones who were being accused of being satanic devil worshippers. They knew that they were not devil worshippers, yet still they played into the anxiety because it was brought to an appropriate level and because it was directed at them.
You know
Yeah,
what
and
you
then
gotta
they
do?
had to shut down the other police officers so that they didn't look like they were the Satan worshiping police officers.
What you got to do is you got to show up. You got to present a series of mirrors in front of the cops.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you say, you're the horde.
Yeah,
Now you're the horde.
Whoa, wait a second. Is that a Kendall Jenner commercial for Pepsi? That would be incredible.
She saved everything.
She did.
She solved it all.
Now, this all occurred in 1992, but it took until the early 2000s for the people who were charged to get any sort of compensation. The
Wow.
daycare owner's son, he did time for
He did?
molestation. He went to jail.
Oh, that's the worst thing to go to jail for. And he is innocent.
Well, I mean, it's widely believed that he's innocent. He never appealed his conviction, which no one really can figure out why, but it's
Right.
widely accepted that, yeah, everyone was innocent of all charges. He just happened to go down for it.
But then you either
Yikes.
don't got no money no more,
Mhm.
right? Or you're just so beaten down and destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh,
by
my
it.
goodness. Yeah.
Or there was a bunch of other molestations that you did, and then you just got,
You got
caught on the
caught.
bad one. And now you know that. So in jail, everybody's maybe believing that you're innocent because you're like, I all I like is MILFs. Like he goes up to the lunch lady in the
Just
prison. He
MILFs.
goes like, oh, I wish I could give those a squeeze. And they're
Yeah.
all like, there's no way Jerry's a child molester. And then
Right.
you don't know that actually you are guilty of a bunch of child molesting, just not the one that you're in jail for.
Fantastic idea. I don't know if there's lunch ladies in prison.
What?
But it is also possible.
There's no lunch ladies in prison?
There's
with other
lunch
prisoners.
There's lunch people.
Yes. There's no,
yeah.
they don't.
Yeah, remember, but there's lunch men. Remember, John Wayne Gacy was a lunch man.
Yeah, I do.
Yes. But it is also possible, as we see with false confessions, that you can almost be a victim of mass hysteria yourself
You can be.
and actually trick yourself into thinking that you did something wrong.
We'll get into a prime
which is
example of that
very
here in a
interesting.
minute.
That's a strange human conundrum.
Well, once the rest of the defendants in the McMartinsville trial had the advantage of years and distance, the courts easily saw that the accusations were so far beyond reason that monetary compensation to the tune of millions of dollars was handed over, or millions of Canadian dollars.
My question is, how much time would you serve for $10 million?
Ooh, man, but not for child molestation.
No, I mean, you are in solitary.
No.
best.
Yeah.
For $10 million, did I get it after?
Yeah, you get it after. I mean, it's not going to help you during.
Man,
What are you
I
going to
don't,
spend it on?
I don't know, dude.
Knowing what it would, how much it would destroy my mental health for the rest of my life, 6 days.
6 days?
Voluntarily? Yeah, 6 days.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do good in the big house.
$10
man.
million.
I've watched a lot of Big Herc, and I know that they don't like the funny guys.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
I'd
They
have
don't.
to figure out. I have to get into the. Honestly, if I could teach them all, like I could cook, teach acting classes.
Yeah.
I feel like
yeah.
I could teach acting classes inside of jail.
Yeah, they,
yeah.
a guy like me, and you're talking like federal prison, right?
We're talking, federal prison.
Yeah, federal prison.
maybe
Gym Pop federal prison?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, day and a half. Maybe. I'd spend a night there.
Strong like bull.
Right? How long do you think you could do in jail?
Oh, God. Well, first thing you do, you go and you drop trow right away.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And you say, line up, boys. There's a new show pony in town.
No.
And you give everyone what they need, handies, suckies, and hopefully after that, they give you a little bit of respect.
and I
I
tell
don't
you
know,
what.
actually. I think I'm too tall. I think I'd be uncomfortable.
You'd be very uncomfortable in jail.
It would, I could survive.
I want to train little mice.
I don't want to, though. Yeah, I would like to do the mice
I train
thing.
mice and pigeons. I'd be that guy with little like circle glasses going, sometimes it's the smaller they are, they understand more what it's like to live in a small place. You know,
This
and
is- you'd be a good
say,
Selly.
You
Oh, we'd
say
be good
very
Sellys.
like
I'm
cogent
so
things.
big, you're so tiny,
Yeah,
and then
be
we can
nice.
fit together.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
2 Lego blocks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Marcus, it would be bad for you because you're also kind of a feminine build. It would be
No,
rough.
I'm androgynous in many different ways.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
would
going to
be-
be good for me.
Yeah, we could flop you around.
Mhm. Yeah.
All
You
right.
flop around real bad.
There
so,
we go.
Yeah.
6 days for Marcus.
I took it down to a day and a half.
Day
I do a
and half.
fortnight.
The one funny thing is that stupid ad. We'll get back to this, but that dumb show where people volunteer to go to prison for 60
Oh,
days.
the world's toughest prisons.
No, not
There's
that.
There's that
the
dude
one
that
where
does.
They go, well, yes, that man. But then they just have normal people that go to prison for like 60 days, and then sometimes they actually commit a crime in prison, and then they get sentenced to prison.
Ah,
That suck.
why would you do this?
They're stupid.
Yep.
Well, while the mass anxiety scares are certainly more consequential in the societal sense, the more interesting and mysterious of the 2 kinds of epidemic hysterias is mass motor hysteria.
Whoa, what's that?
F1.
Nice.
Jethro Tull. No, it's like deep purple. Mass motor hysteria.
This is off the rails today.
Space trucking.
Wow.
Burner. Godzilla.
Does this episode come with an edible? I swear to God.
I'm just getting into the 420 spirit. I haven't smoked weed in years, but hey, man, it's like Christmas. You got to get into it.
Because I put it in your water.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna have a mental breakdown.
Well, in the,
Please, God.
and yeah, I know Godzilla was Blue Oyster Cult, so don't give me any shit.
It's too late.
No one's caring. No one cares. No one knew. No one knows.
Well, in this condition, in mass motor hysteria, a slow accumulation of pent-up stress within a bad social scene can eventually result in dissociation, histrionics, and alterations to psychomotor activity.
Yeah.
Oh.
People shake, twitch, contort, and contract, which is pretty much what people do when they're supposedly possessed by the devil.
This actually, I've seen this. Now, when you mention all of this, it reminds me of evangelical
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
uproots.
Yeah.
Where
But
when
do you
I was
not
growing up,
believe we've talked about this? So do you not think that like it's mostly voluntary though? Like that it's not
People get
involuntary?
because you also so you get called up in front of the pastor, right? And then you get the laying on by hands,
Yeah.
and you have to do something.
It's societal pressure.
But also it's
I just do the robot.
whoa,
Whoa, what is
oh
he-
my God, he's being
That
that would crush. When I got the hands laid upon me, and you fall over, they just push you over.
Yeah.
But yes, you do. You go over. I mean, that's your role in that game.
Wow, what kind of a wide berth did they give behind you?
Well, bro,
Timber!
I was a bit younger then, and I opened my eyes and I was looking right up a girl's skirt.
No, I remember
She
Oh,
was
wow.
my
That's
age.
right.
She was
when
my
he
age.
fell over, they all went into mass hysteria.
Yes.
They were so scared of his nuts.
But it's like that Crash Test Dummy song. Great song.
Yeah. How is it like that song?
Because they talk about going to the church. Everyone's rolling around on the ground, climbing around like worms.
Do they?
I'll have to take his word for it.
Yeah.
I thought it was just one about polka dots.
No. There's a bunch of stuff. You're high. Yes.
Well, unaddressed or worse, encouraged, the symptoms of mass motor hysteria can last weeks or months.
Wow.
If it's encouraged, or if people simply take it seriously as, say, a mass demonic movement, then it quickly spreads from person to person. Case in point are the so-called dancing plagues of Europe.
For a long time, people thought there's still been kind of like there was like a debunk movement for a while trying to say that these didn't happen. But now they're actually showing that there's a lot more evidence than they thought there was originally that show that like dancing plagues happened. People were
Well, what's a
obsessed
dancing
with it.
plague?
We'll get into it. The dancing plague started in the 11th century and occurred regularly until the mid-17th century. Sometimes called St. Vitus's dance after the patron saint of dancing, the dancing plagues could last weeks, sometimes months, and could often be fatal to the involuntary participants.
They danced themselves to death?
Yes, because dancing plagues is a little bit because it's kind of both. Because some seem like they are actual dancing, some do seem more like giant group seizures.
Yeah,
that also
Weird.
kind of happen, which is weirdly it comes up several times. That actual phenomenon.
Yeah.
Dancing plagues are actually the earliest recorded instances of what we now call mass sociogenic illness. Although the frenzied Dionysian antics in the 405 BC play The Bacchae certainly imply that motoric mass hysteria has existed throughout mankind's social history. Do they not?
Really interesting.
Yeah,
Really interesting stuff.
I wasn't prepared for this voice.
No, I don't.
Bacchanalian. It's a bacchanalian frenzied dance.
Bacchanalia is a thing. It was a thing. I don't know what is real. I don't know a lot about it. I know the Dionysians were a cult.
Princess Diana was murdered. I don't know.
I think her head just did that.
No, she was killed by the paparazzi.
Yep. By us, almost in a way.
Isn't that true?
By our attention.
Isn't that a fact?
First person in history murdered by photography.
Indeed.
Except for many Amish.
Oh.
That's why they're so scared of it.
So the earliest recorded example of a dancing plague comes from the year 1021 during a Christmas Eve Mass in the Germanic town of Kolbik. That evening, the priest was interrupted by 18 people dancing with wild abandon, making noise outside the church.
Wow. Well, this is German, so it's Oompa music.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when do you think polka music began?
Well, polka music is not German.
Yeah.
That's Polish.
Czech.
I'm talking Oompa music.
What do you mean polka music's not fucking German? They're all the same.
No, polka music.
It's Polish.
Yeah, it's Polish and Czech. It's Eastern European.
That's your people.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you mix polka with traditional Latin American...
It becomes mariachi music.
It becomes Tejano.
Oh, cool.
No, not mariachi. It becomes Tejano.
Nice.
What's the difference?
Texas Tornadoes, they're Tejano.
Wow, I'm spontaneously dancing over here. All right, very good.
It's a great episode.
Really solid. It's something. Not the first episode to introduce us to new listeners. I thought you said there was content.
Well, and since that the day...
There is content.
You know, what I really enjoy about last podcast is they really inject like intelligence into the humor.
We do.
Yeah. Well, and since that the dancers weren't giving a Christmas Eve Mass its due respect, the priest marched outside and ordered them to stop. They ignored him. And like something out of a folk horror film, the dancers held hands and danced around the priest in what was called a ring dance of sin, clapping, leaping, and chanting in unison.
We are a butthole. We are a butthole. You're inside a butthole.
That makes the priest a turd.
Yep.
Well, according to a local chronicler, the priest was so enraged that he cursed the dancers to dance for an entire year as punishment for their quote-unquote outrageous levity.
Well, if you're going to be out there making a show out of something that's not a show, then you better be dancing for the rest of the goddamn year.
All right. This is the smoke a whole pack of cigarettes, see if you get sick.
Reportedly, the people believed enough in the priest's power where it actually worked.
Wow.
And it wasn't until the following Christmas that the dancers stopped.
They must have been tired.
the butthole.
Wow.
Yeah, they danced themselves to death.
Whoa.
Well, these dancing plagues, as Henry mentioned very briefly, this isn't like fun and sexy like salt and pepper shoot dancing. Like it's not. I mean,
I had a problem
oh my
with the
God, we're
reference.
so old. Okay.
Well, I've been for a No Dogs in Space
You mean
episode.
shoot.
I've been getting into shit like this. The song "I'm Blue" that was originally by the Ikettes, and then the Monks
Yes.
turned to "Vidu Vidu,"
Great.
and then of course that song was sampled. The Ikettes version was sampled in "Shoop" by Salt and Pepper. So I've been watching that video like a lot lately.
Great.
And they can dance, boy. They can dance.
They
Boy,
really
can
can.
they.
Yeah.
They
Boy,
really
can they.
Mass hysteria.
Really powerful.
Shoop, baby. Shoop.
We got to see them perform during the daylight at the Comedy Central Comedy Festival because they was all wrong and the musicians performed before comedy.
I tell you what, man, Chili will always be my girl.
Yeah.
It's TLC.
Yeah, that is TLC. The two different
Wow.
groups. Yeah.
Wow.
That is
That's
so
what-
unbelievable.
Because
I gotta
the whole thing about Salt and Pepper is that one of them is
It's
named
unbelievable.
Salt and the other one is named Pepper.
We
And then there's
ground to a
Spinderella. And there's
fucking
fucking Spinderella.
I just got
So
it.
don't-
We gotta go. I have to go.
Also, everyone's favorite was Left Eye. It's
I know, I like
wrong.
Left Eye too, but I was sexually attracted to Chili.
Yeah, but Left Eye, well, they're all hot.
I like
so.
Chili. She was the one with the long hair,
Yeah,
right?
I like
yeah,
Chili.
yeah, yeah.
And then like the tall one from Salt and Pepper.
They're all hot. Yeah, they're all very
They
attractive.
really are. But yeah, this isn't that type of dancing. This is like white woman on a retreat in Sedona, like letting her hair down after scream therapy. Like this is Beetle Bob. This is like Charles Manson bebopping and jazzing after that reporter asked him to define his unique charm.
Yeah. Oh.
But regardless, after the Christmas Eve dancers stopped following the priest curse, they reportedly fell into a deep sleep, and some of them subsequently died from exhaustion.
Wow.
Now, that's a fairly incredible story.
Yeah.
Because while it's unknown exactly how long a human can go without sleep, the current record is 11 days.
It's a record you don't want to try to beat.
No, what a nightmare.
Perhaps the dancers continued twitching during sleeping hours and began the boogie anew upon their next awakening.
Well, have you heard about fatal insomnia?
Yeah, where you die from insomnia?
It's a really fun, like,
God,
if you
what a
have
horrible way to die.
If you have problems with like, intrusive thoughts or like kind of like any form of hypochondria, like it's like the most frightening thing that you've ever heard because it just happens. They don't know why it happens. You just stop being able to go to sleep and then you go insane to death.
I would imagine.
And
that
it
you
just
do.
happens.
That's fucking horrible.
Isn't that great?
There has
So
to be a way
here you go. Run with that.
Yeah.
There has
okay,
to be
cool.
a way to get someone to go to sleep.
Well, they have to put you out for a while. They try to do it with anesthesia. It doesn't really work because you don't really
So
sleep
the
in
brain is
anesthesia.
just like, we don't sleep anymore.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow. What a trip.
So
Hey,
it's
why?
I bet you there's something. I feel like all of this is kind of weirdly connected in a way.
It
I
does
think
feel
that
like it.
that and Locked In.
Oh,
Those are
Locked
two,
In is
like,
a
those
drug.
are very
No,
scary.
No.
Always
Blink,
kill me.
Kill me. Blink,
I will
kill me.
Always
Yeah.
kill me. Both
yeah,
of
yeah.
you know.
I will.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, we'll make fun of you a bunch first.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. First,
And we'll
get
do all-
some content out of it.
Yep.
Use the body, film the roast.
Mhm.
We're roasting Henry's corpse,
Uh-huh.
and then that's it.
18 months.
That's great.
And then we'll...
Yeah,
But, you
sure.
know,
Yeah,
then it's
whatever you
over.
could drain out of it. Great.
Yeah. Well, regardless of logistics, we know that if this story is exaggerated, it's only exaggerated a bit because dancing plagues continued for centuries, specifically in Germany. Now, people tend to dismiss stories of dancing plagues pretty much just because it sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It sounds
Right.
ridiculous. But a lot of these epidemics were recorded by reliable sources, and they're corroborated by multiple chroniclers who were otherwise trusted in everything else they wrote.
Weird.
It's really strange.
In the German town of Erfurt in 1247, 200 people were said to have danced on a bridge until it collapsed, drowning them all.
And people
I
are
can
like,
see that.
TikTok's the problem. It's literally, they've been doing this ever since. That is just called planking.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is interesting as well. I don't know if we cover it, but the Brooklyn Bridge, when it first opened,
Mhm.
the mass hysteria, someone's like, it's going down. And then
Yeah.
a bunch of people got trampled to death.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that really is, it's kind of mass hysteria.
is. It's
Because it
very-
wasn't going down.
Or mass panic.
Mass panic.
Yeah. Well, in the next century, thousands of people in the Germanic lands of the Low Countries gathered and danced for weeks while screaming that they were having terrible visions and pleading in great pain for
Wow.
monks and priests to save their souls. About 30 or 40 years after that, monks in the city of Trier recorded that masses of hallucinating dancers hopped and leaped for 6 months. That's not seizures. That's something totally different.
Something else.
Yeah, and some of them even, in fact, died after they landed badly. They
Too
landed
much
bad.
hopping.
They broke their ribs. Some of them broke their loins, which
This
I
is-
think they mean their hips,
I
like
mean,
old people.
They're still
cover the-
German. They're still German at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We're not a jumping people.
No. You're a kicking people.
A kick. Well,
Yeah, you're marching people.
marching, sure.
Yeah.
What about Detlef Schrempf?
Yes, but more of a shooter. Not much deadlift. But there's been Dirk, perhaps.
Nowitzki? Yeah. And so it went, at least once a century. In Strasbourg, in the summer of 1518, 400 people were caught in a dancing plague so uncontrollable that they danced themselves to death.
Jeez.
Yeah, knowing all the while that sunstroke would kill them if they did not stop. People are dropping dead at their feet, and they're not stopping.
Yeah, how about that, Coachella? How about that?
God, we're just fucking so old.
Yeah, Coachella.
Oh, that lineup is garbage.
It's not for us.
No, it's not.
Oh, I love Tribbett and Mr. Bankel, and I think it's Stank Pink.
Yeah.
Stank Pink is one of my favorite violent. God.
Hyperpop.
There we go. Really good.
Now, the city of Strasbourg tried getting proactive with their dancing plague and therefore constructed a special stage in the heart of the city.
Making content.
Yeah, why not? If they're going to be dancing anyway, put them on stage.
The dancers were herded to the stage where they could ostensibly, I think the logic was like, let them get it out of their system.
Yeah,
Let
they
them
want
perform.
attention so much.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when Germans let it get out when they get it out of their system. That's going to be great.
Really let loose what's
Let
inside the German.
loose.
Yeah. Eventually, the city even hired professional dancers and musicians to accompany the people in the dancing trances, either to give the dancers a structure or to just make them visually less unsettling.
There was a dude that
Whoa.
watched this at some point. He was like, this needs choreography. Like, he's watching this whole, he's like, we're doing this all wrong. Like, he arrived and he was just like, we need to put up a backdrop. We got to put up some lights.
This
We need
is a
music.
strangely sympathetic approach.
It really is,
Because
yeah.
they're like, let's help them out. Now there's a reason to
Now
dance.
they're definitely,
Yeah.
well, they're not dancing a beat.
Yeah.
No,
But
well,
They're
that's
not.
fine.
But at least it's not them dancing in silence and you just hear the of the feet, which
and
is
don't forget the bones cracking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the bones slowly cracking. The bones slowly cracking. Of course.
Ooh, that would be horrible to dance your fucking ankles break. And
Yeah.
Oh,
It happened.
Oh, yeah.
Like they,
Like doing the Michael Jackson scream.
But of course, once the professional dancers began dancing with the sick ones, the professional dancers also got caught in the epidemic, even though they would try their hardest not to.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
very weird.
Now, it's been wrongly theorized that every single one of these dancing plagues were a result of ergot poisoning. Ergot poisoning.
I mean, because they're ergot poisoning. Once they figured out that ergot does that, they're all like, every single historian was like, let's sprinkle some ergot on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, does it have anything to do with it?
No, but
Okay.
it doesn't wash because when you consider that people would dance for weeks or months on end without showing any other sign of ergot poisoning, such as puking or shitting yourself into a coma.
You're also just seeing stuff.
Yeah.
This is the nature of how many times it's all everybody who talks about hallucinogens that has never done any.
Yeah.
Where they're all like, well, it makes you go crazy. We're like, mostly it just makes you see shit weird and you kind of just like ball up inside of yourself.
I found the phrase that I find myself saying the most when doing hallucinogens is "uh-oh."
Yeah.
And it's yeah.
In my mind, it's also very like, this makes sense. Or like,
Yeah.
I like these like, oh, of course that fucking pine cone would be there.
Uh-oh. Like that says uh-oh. All right, let's
whoa.
but it's uh-oh in a good way. Or like, uh-oh, all right.
I
All right.
mostly just sit down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta chill out.
Well, people did exhibit irrational psychedelic sounding behavior during these prolonged trances. In the well-documented 1347 case in the Low Countries, the afflicted yelled out the names of devils, they claimed to be drowning in a sea of blood, and they developed strange aversions to the color red and pointed shoes.
Now that really points towards the society's fears.
I think that's because they were getting kicked by all these people in pointed shoes.
I mean, yeah, and then also, but it's indicative of the devil, of a wicked man, a wicked person, and so you're basically taking like how we say we transmute our pop culture ideas to our visions of aliens and shit. It's the same as that, where they're just scared of stuff, which is actually to them very scary at the time.
Yeah.
It would be funny if aliens come back wearing like 1300s garb, be like, oh, I guess we got the century rug.
Do you not think that the next wave of fashion is going to be all of that? It's all going to be like 1300s to be like medieval fashion.
Snood wear?
I think
Snood wear.
Snood life is coming, and it's going to be real.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
But apparently, I bought a snood. I told you I took a picture in it, but it looks a bit ethnic. And I tried to put it on, and a listener said it to me. It was great. I thank you. But yeah, I can't wear it because I look like
You can wear it.
I look like a professional 40-year-old dishwasher from 36 years ago.
What's wrong with that?
I was saying it's a knit cap.
All right.
I understand that. And to that point, Henry, we went to the Renaissance Fair last week.
Oh yeah.
And I was told many a time that I looked like I fit right in. The only thing that was Renaissance clothing on my body was the pants. The shirt, wear that shirt all the time.
It's just clothes.
The shoes, wear those shoes all the time. And yet, I fit right in the Renaissance.
You
Isn't
looked
that
like-
fantastic? That's not a compliment.
You looked like a farmer's confused son.
Yeah.
From Renaissance times.
Confused? I was
Well,
not
they'd be
confused.
like-
He's not confused. I mean,
I was a
all he
man
wants
of
to
the
do
We're
horse.
going to
right.
get into what happened that week.
All he wants to do is write poetry. He doesn't have anything to do with the fig farm.
Mhm.
And you're just out there picking flowers and dancing.
Oh, the fig farm. No, Marcus was arguing about very important Star Trek issues, which we are not going to get into.
No, I am not approaching.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Deep Space Nine truly
We are
is.
not going to get into it.
It's more than just
We're
guarding a
just not going to
wormhole,
get into it.
goddammit.
We're just not going to get into it.
Now, as we said earlier, mass hysterias can come from extreme stresses. In the times in which these dancing plagues occurred, the Middle Ages, they were horrific for the monkey brain of a human.
Yeah.
In the 1347 case, for example, the Black Death had swept through Europe only 25 years earlier. And in the Strasbourg outbreak, there had just been a famine accompanied by the arrival of a new disease called syphilis.
Welcome to the game, syphilis.
God dang.
In addition to recurrent outbreaks of both leprosy and the plague.
Syphilis does make you go mad, right?
After a long, very long period
So these people
of time.
weren't suffering from syphilis.
No, syphilis takes like 30, 40 years to drive you crazy.
I got you.
Interestingly,
So you got plenty of time.
I'm good.
Interestingly, though, dancing to process and heal trauma is actually pretty common amongst human beings.
Oh, yeah. Dancing is one of the most powerful art forms ever be because it's not hemmed in by language, society, or culture. Each culture has its own dance, and we're united by dance.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. I mean, okay.
Look at the electric slide. I feel that if
that's
we
true.
brought
That's
that,
true.
if we brought it to Afghanistan, if we brought the electric slide to Iran, I feel that we could really fix all of that
But
stuff.
cultures and dancing, it is an interesting way to study cultures through dance, isn't it?
If we could just drop that fucking, what was the this is your chance to do the hump, right? We
do the Humpty Hump.
You want
Yeah.
the
If
Humpty
we drop
Hump?
the
Sure.
Humpty Hump over Ukraine,
Yeah, maybe that would help. Maybe that would help.
Well, it could be that a dancing plague is an example of the brakes getting cut on a coping mechanism. That, however, doesn't explain how dancing plagues spread, which is still to this day a mystery.
it is really, it's interesting. All of these versions of mass hysteria, it's like, I guess you see a bunch of people doing something, there's maybe a little part of you that's like, man, I want to give everything up.
Join in. Why not?
Improv everywhere. You know, like,
Sure.
let's go. But it is strange that then you get locked in.
Yeah, you drop out of society and then you realize that society was the net that was keeping you up.
Wow. Okay.
But
Society's fucking making me mad.
You're getting it now.
your home is where you're happy. It's not where you're not free.
That's
Whoa,
Charles
Charles
Manson.
Manson.
That's Charles Manson lyric.
But speaking of the Middle Ages, medieval convents were common places for outbreaks of mass hysteria. Where there were nuns, there was weirdness.
Oh, yeah, there was. I've seen a lot of that.
Indeed.
Well, these hysterias were usually led by women who had been forced into nunneries,
Ooh, wow.
where they lived in prison-like conditions under strict behavioral guidelines.
Yeah,
a
'cause
lot of stress.
Those mother superiors really got to keep those nuns in a short leash.
Yeah,
you know,
real
because you
short.
got to make sure they're clean. Number one,
Yeah, that's
you got to make sure
right.
that first of all, when Sister Clam Slapper shows up, right?
You want to be
better
ready for that.
Again, it's just a nickname.
yeah.
Yeah.
Her name's Helen, but if you find out why they call her that,
Helen Clam Snapper. Nice to meet you.
Yes, indeed. Wow.
where a scissor's not just an office supply.
Isn't that nice? We're having oysters for dinner again.
No,
Mass hysteria.
Yes.
Now, perhaps because nunneries were such odd constructs full of women forced to be there, so too were the mass hysterias contained therein often strange.
And oftentimes these were just either lesbian women
Oh, sure.
or women that wanted to read.
Well,
and
also-
then they're like,
or-
go to the nunnery.
You're also discounting women's where the whole family has been murdered and they have nowhere to go
yeah.
and they have no agency within society.
Or women like youngest daughters who can't be married off, you know, like who have not been, who have kind of aged out of being married off.
Yeah,
like if you're 30,
spinsters.
you're
You're either too
32,
young or too
35, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Got too square of a head, got too round of a head.
Right.
in the nunnery.
Nuns on the run. Ooh, I'm going to sneak into a nunnery.
Well, in one French convent, one nun began, for reasons unknown, meowing like a cat, which is, of course, an animal associated with witches and therefore Satan.
I've heard people do this.
Meow, that's what I call mass hysteria.
I mean, I seriously, people meow sometimes.
Yeah. Well, pretty soon, all the nuns in the convent.
People meow sometimes?
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Who meow sometimes?
Just, I've been to some bars and people will just meow. Women meow.
You're
Women-
different. You're
Wait,
single.
what
You're out
bars
there.
have you been to where women just meow?
I'm telling
He
you,
went to,
there's-
it's the Pussy Hut. There was
No, it's just-
Tabby Corner. There
yeah,
was
Gabby
Garfield's
Corner.
Place. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Garfield's, yes. Get the normal.
Well, pretty soon, all the nuns in the convent were meowing like cats, eventually falling into a chorus of caterwauling for hours every day.
Wow, weird.
The meowing only stopped when local soldiers were ordered into the convent to whip and spank the nuns
Oh, my.
until the kittens quieted down.
I think that
Everyone
was the point of the meowing.
You gotta bark. It should have been
Well, that's the thing. The soldiers are barking.
Yeah, the soldiers are barking. They're
This
playing
is
cats
not-
and dogs.
They're just trying to have sex with each other.
Yeah, man.
But mass hysterias amongst nuns could also spread from convent to convent. The meowing nuns, that was just one convent.
For sure.
And this happened simply by word of mouth, or should I say happened simply by word of mouth. In the 15th century, for example, nuns began biting each other in convents spread across France and the Germanic states.
This is when
Why?
you really need Russell Crowe's The Pope's Exorcist to show up and fix this shit. Because this is really weird.
Yes, his nuns just...
Like,
All right.
They are, it turns a nunnery into more of a nomery.
Yeah, because they're eating it there. They're nomming on it.
But I mean, they're viciously biting each other.
Wow, what a weird time to be a nun.
Yeah.
Before long, the biting nun thought virus had spread to Italy and the Netherlands, and no one could get the nuns to stop biting people, no matter how much they begged them to stop.
Wow.
When prayer failed as well, the church ordered mass exorcisms, and when that was a bust, they fell back on the old standbys of flogging and drowning.
And
Just honestly, get him a Peloton.
yeah, they needed to be worked out.
But once several nuns were flogged and or drowned, word spread to the other convents, and the biting miraculously stopped.
Wow, weird.
I wonder what did it.
I wonder.
I actually sometimes think if, go along and get along.
Go
You're biting. You're biting. I think there's. We
We're
talked a
biting
little
now,
bit,
so we'll start biting.
slightly in the Salem witch trials. We talked a little bit about the concept of, okay, I have no agency. I've been put into this thing. I'm in
Right.
society, not in my choice. It's not my choice to be here. I'm also in this nunnery. It's not my choice. And on some level, this aberrant behavior actually gives me power in
You
a
have some
situation.
control
Yes.
over it.
It's a rebellion.
Yeah.
Even though you're biting each other, and biting everyone, but it's still a
Yeah.
sort of rebellion.
I don't know. I don't know if that's fully the cause.
Yeah, but it does make sense.
Sure.
And that actually sort of makes sense a little bit with the very first dancing plague that we talked about.
Yeah.
They're rebelling against the church, and then the church
Oh, yeah, now
curses
it's always,
them.
we're not dancing. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm always dancing.
Always dancing.
Now, throughout the Middle Ages, mass hysterias were often blamed on the devil. And our next story, the Milan poisoning, was no different. Now, as we know, the salad days of the Black Plague were in the 14th century.
The appetizer course.
I love it.
But it persisted in Europe in occasional flare-ups until the 1800s. This, of course, caused much consternation whenever it occurred. And while many people usually blamed the Jewish folk when the plague came to town, another group shared the bill in the 17th century.
Thank God.
Was it movie reviewers?
I just, the Jewish people. I mean, come on. You gotta leave them alone.
Yeah, leave
Gotta
them
leave 'em
alone.
alone.
Not
Of course leave 'em
everything.
alone.
I mean, come on.
Leave them alone. Well, in conjunction with the Salem hysteria just a few decades later, rumors were spreading across Europe in the early to mid 1600s that the plague was being spread by witches and witchcraft.
And I do believe this is a mechanism of population control. And also saying that we don't like aberrant people in our society. We don't like the fringe people. And so anytime you see one, it's a new way to scapegoat anybody you may not like or may not like the cut of the jib of. Because now you can say oh, well, they're sneaking plague in. Everybody's so scared of plague that they're immediately going to react.
Yeah. Well, you have no choice at that point because if you get the plague, you're going to die. So yeah, why take the chance?
Why take the chance indeed? It was, of course, as we covered in the Black Plague, a lot of commerce was the reason for the spread.
Well, and the best example of this rumor's consequences, and this story does actually have to do with commerce a bit. Milan was struck with a horrific plague in 1630, in which a quarter of the city's population was dead when the whole thing was said and done. A quarter. But at the height of the panic, the governor of Milan received word from King Philip IV of Spain. King Philip said that 4 Frenchmen had escaped from prison and were spreading the plague with poisonous ointments.
No, I couldn't really figure out why he said this thing. I guess it was a way to try to catch the criminals, where they just these guys were released. No one really knows the nature of who they were, why they were so important to be caught. But it sounds like they did that so that people would look out and try to get these motherfuckers. And I don't know I don't know who they double crossed.
Yeah.
To experience this.
Or what information they had about King Philip IV.
Ooh, he did not like Fromage.
My real name's Stanley.
Oh, he's out of here.
Well, the hysteria increased in May of 1630 when citizens in Milan reported seeing people placing poison ointments in a cathedral, just a little dab on the benches.
Little tap will do ya.
And this presumably is where witchcraft got mixed up into the story. An attack on the church. But while authorities found nothing in the cathedral, all the doors along the main street of Milan the next day were marked with a mysterious daub.
This is really
a mysterious
interesting.
what?
Daub. Like a daub.
daub?
Like, like you get some Vaseline, get like a big jar of petroleum jelly and you put 2 fingers into it.
Always.
You got a daub.
Hey, always. See, I always DeSantis it. I like to use my 3 fingers because you get more mass.
He uses 3 fingers on the pudding?
I think it's a 3 or a 2 finger.
That's a 3 finger, man. He gives it what I call, this is called the dolphin.
Yeah.
Where you put the three in the middle go in, and then you got 2 fins on the other side.
You got 2 fins in order to hold the pudding cup.
Yeah, you
so
want to
can
do that.
Pudding cups, so you're never without
pudding in any chance.
It's amazing, the quick decline of that weird man.
So fast.
Yeah. But he has that leaked tape where he's like, when you're a celebrity, you can grab any pudding by the pussy.
Now I'm on fire. Now you're satirical, and I enjoy your satire, sir.
Wow.
I enjoy your satirical take on things.
The Capitol steps are coming up next.
They're broken up.
I know, for political reasons.
Yes.
That's sad.
But the mysterious daub was real, and this is interesting because this is truly just pranksters.
Yeah.
Somebody heard this rumor that these guys are showing up with plague, and so then they're doing it with cream.
Yeah, they're doing it with cream, and they're just putting mysterious daubs on all the doors in the main street, so everyone would be able to see them.
And
Is it a fun time to be a teenager during this era?
Very much so, because you can whip up everybody.
Right?
No one has any clue what's real or what's not real unless they have a frock on, and you have to believe them for some reason.
I don't know, if you're a teenager in this era, like, you're an adult. You're a man.
You're an adult?
Yeah, you're an adult. Yeah.
You're a father.
Yeah, you're not like driving around in your Chevy, going beep beep, going on the drag, smoking cigarettes with your buddy Wes. No, you're doing none of that.
No, you're farming. You're sustenance farming.
Yeah.
What about the parking lot of Taco Bell?
Oh no, Taco Bell is only. If this 1620s, it's like 20 years away.
Yeah.
Because Taco Bell has only been around since like 1645.
Yeah. Right.
You're not going there. You're not going to the opposite side of the Sonic Drive-In.
Not having any
not
fun.
the first side, the second side, because that's where all the kids hang out.
I actually don't know that. I didn't know that.
That was a Texas thing, I believe.
Weird.
You wouldn't understand.
I know that.
It was a goop, though.
Yeah,
the stuff they put on the walls was they said it was yellow.
Yeah. But the mysterious daub was nothing poisonous. It sounds like tallow, like fat, or some daubable material.
Okay.
But it was a prank. It was playing off the poison plague fears that had been steadily building.
Yeah, sometimes if you want to create a fake plague, a little daub will do you.
Yeah, they really
absolutely.
do. But instead of breaking the tension, the prank increased the fear, and soon no one was safe from accusation or assault. In one case, an old man just minded his own business while sitting on a bench. He was accosted by a mob after a daub of something was seen on the bench the old man was sitting on.
That's just my poop.
Oh, that's sad.
I couldn't hold it anymore. I was thinking about the last plague.
Oh.
And now I'm sitting in my Duke, and everybody's saying I'm the bad guy.
You're a bad guy now. You're a wizard.
I need help.
You do. You need to die.
I wish I could. I still live.
You will.
Every day I wake up.
You'll be dead soon.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, the old man was beaten and dragged into a church.
This is not how I wanted to die.
I'm sorry. This is how it's going to go.
My own poop. I'm just so...
I know.
Oh, I'm lost.
No, you're just where you want to be.
Then they dragged him to the magistrate, and that's where he died.
That's where he died.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
I always wanted to waste a lawyer's time.
There you go. Oh.
Magistrate's a sheriff.
I thought that they were like
I couldn't
everything.
be a judge. I thought a magistrate was a judge.
Huh. So
I think a magistrate's a judge.
So Ben is once again right. Yes. Perhaps the satirical mind is more clever than ours.
Oh, you don't think he has a satirical mind?
No, I have a hysterical mind.
Yeah, he just spent 2 minutes screaming about poop.
No, nothing satirical about that. What a genius. In a lab. Wow. All right.
Ass hysteria.
Yes, I know.
Well, taking things even further, citizens then accused a barber surgeon named Giacomo Mora of working with Satan to make poisonous potions.
Oh, jeez.
Now, the whole Giacomo Mora saga was a tragic misunderstanding of the highest order. See, if you'll remember, the Black Plague produces painful boils that erupt in the groin and the armpits of the infected.
Yeah.
And Giacomo Mora had devised a salve that helped soothe the pain of these burst boils.
Ugh.
Word of Mora's miracle ointment soon spread, and people began crowding his shop to buy a daub for themselves before he ran out. Naturally, many of those people were infected with the plague, so when they rubbed up against the uninfected in close quarters, the plague spread.
It seems I have created more of a problem with my very helpful ointment.
Yes.
Which is why now that you have received the plague from being inside my establishment while trying to buy anti-plague formula, I've actually made plague-filled formula that should actually counteract the actual plague that's inside.
I think we got ourselves a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. voter.
But instead of blaming themselves or saying like, hey, maybe I got the plague from those guys that I was right next to who also had the plague.
That would make sense.
They blamed Mora.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that he was a minion of Satan who'd spread the plague through his salve.
No, I spread the plague through my incredible deals and the amazing content.
Yeah, it just seems like every day there's a different landmine you step in on accident.
Oh, yeah.
Back then,
It was always, it has not changed.
Nothing has changed.
And so Mora was arrested and brutally tortured for a month.
I'm just thinking that this is an overcorrection.
I think so,
okay?
too.
I just made a helpful ointment.
Yeah. Well, they're also looking for people to blame. You know, people are like, the plague is going very poorly. You know, like 25% of the population is dead or dying. You know, people need a bit of a distraction. People like something to blame. They like something to talk about.
Yeah,
you know?
I just, wow.
Yeah, you get some. Yeah, it's not like it happens anymore.
No, we beat that. We beat that.
Yeah, totally beat that. But while being stretched on the rack, right around the time that his sinews began popping,
I am sick of the ointment. I'll never make ointment again.
Don't make it again.
Mora not only confessed, but he began naming accomplices.
Oh, yeah, buddy. You guys are fucked.
Yeah.
If I'm stretched out, dude.
Oh, I know.
These accomplices were then arrested and tortured until they named more accomplices. And those people were arrested and tortured and named more accomplices, and so on and so forth down the line.
It's not good.
Every single person who confessed after prolonged torture was executed.
So they just, that's the prisoner's dilemma.
That is that is the fly in the ointment.
Indeed it is. I wonder how many, what's the average crank? You get cranked like 5-6 times?
Oh, no, for the rack?
Yeah.
No, you're talking about maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 to 3 minutes.
That's it?
That's
it.
because your arms dislocate. Yeah, because it's really slow.
Yeah.
It's a very long, because you go.
I don't think I've seen the rack at all the torture museums we've been to.
We just did.
Yeah,
actually, did I see one? I
think of it like a big gear, and you go like tukunk. You just want to do like one tukunk at a time.
That's enough.
Because part of the torture is the tension of how much more they're going to stretch you and how long it's going to be until they stretch you more.
Of course. I think the one that I would like the least is that one where you sit and then they put the weights on your legs.
That'd be the Spanish donkey.
Yeah, I don't like that Spanish donkey.
No, you would not.
No.
That's why you got to build up to it.
Yep.
I've been working with this incredible Italian footstool.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really kind of I'm using it. I'm working up to it because I started with what's called the prairie mound.
Well, Giacomo Mora's body itself was exhibited as a warning to other supposed poisoners because after he confessed, they broke him on the wheel. They put him on the wheel. They destroyed all of his joints, and he eventually died from that. And his body was dumped in the river, and then they burned down his home and his business just because.
Because at this point, they were like, well, why don't we need to start all of this over?
Right, yeah.
Now, it was difficult to prove whether or not any poisonings had actually occurred because thousands of people were dropping dead of the plague in Milan every day. By August, it was said that 4,000 dead bodies were in the streets, just rotting.
What a smell.
August Italian sun.
Oh, mama.
But even so, people were so anxious about the plague that they began accusing themselves of associating with witches and sorcerers. They began going to authorities, turning themselves in, and then being executed.
Jeez,
it's
weird.
It was fucked up because I bet you getting executed's a lot nicer than dying of the fucking plague.
It might be.
I mean, I guess it is a form of suicide to just break the tension.
You should be like fuck it, yeah, it's me. Fucking chop my head off. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think maybe just the Iron Maiden just slam that door shut, poke me real fast.
But
it's a slow death.
The point of the Iron Maiden is that it's a very, very slow death.
It
doesn't hit the
like
vitals.
an inch.
Yeah, it sticks in just a little bit.
You just bleed.
Oh, well.
Sounds like I just told you the picnic was postponed.
Yeah.
That
sucks. That's not good.
I guess I have to get my hot dog someplace else.
Now, if we stay in the realm of the devil for a moment, Let's head over to the city of Liège in France to an all-girls boarding school in 1639.
Each one of these Mass Hysteria episodes sound pretty hot.
It's an all-girls boarding school. They're like 10.
Ugh.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry. Now
Yes.
I'm imagining I'm talking about if it was cast.
Yeah, he's talking about
21-year-old.
Yes, he's talking about an all-girls boarding school. Yes, 21 to 38.
That's my goal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fun.
35 and up.
Looks like
my MILF boarding school. I got to start an all
Ooh,
MILF
a MILF boarding school is good.
Yeah.
That's
Miss
nice.
MILF, you didn't get your homework in time.
And then she starts yelling at you and debasing you, and you kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
Well, there, a French mystic named Antoinette Bouillon, who believed that she was chosen by God to restore the true Christianity, she became besieged by demonic visions. Upon visiting the school, Antoinette saw a swarm of little black angels flying around the heads of the schoolgirls, and she became so obsessed with the black imps that she began telling the schoolgirls that it was they who were the ones who were attracting the devils with their behavior, their sinful schoolgirl behavior.
That was very similar to the Devil's Little Don't.
Very much so. Naturally, with an authority figure telling them that the devil was around always, that it was their fault, the girls also began to see the little black devils, and the whole school soon became obsessed with the devil.
Well, it's just so much more fun to have a life where you're seeing all these little devils and you're mixing all your shit up. Because it's a very boring life.
Yeah.
You're in an old, dumb,
Is it
like
boring?
boarding school.
It sounds like everyone's
No,
dying.
it's a life of drudgery. You're like cleaning the floors and listening to fake science and math and, it's all this shit until, of course, we're going to turn into a bunch of little devil girls. It's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Be careful for the weirdos out there. We are the weirdos, sir.
God, just seeing you dresses. I see you dresses for Urgibal in my mind.
I'll fly at you.
Well, finally, one girl couldn't take it anymore and ran away from the school. She feared that she would become possessed. The staff, of course, caught up with her and returned her to the school. But when she got to the school, she said that the devil had taken her away. And then she, of course, confessed to being a witch and had been so since the age of 7.
True, the old school version of a Nepo baby.
Did they kill her?
No. Once it was announced to the class, 50 schoolgirls took it as a cue and spontaneously erupted into fits and convulsions. And to a one, all 50 confessed to being witches.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yep. And like the satanic panic of the 90s, the girls tried outdoing each other with stories of demonic dealings. They quickly escalated. Oh, yeah, we ride broomsticks. Okay, fine.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. We can go through keyholes. Like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're attending demon meeting.
Demon meeting.
Very nice.
Did you not bring the soda water? Did you not bring the chips?
Isn't it infernal how I lie?
Oh, God damn it.
I was just joking. Of course I brought the celts.
Yes.
And then finally, the feasting of baby flesh.
Yay.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
Come
they
on.
pop up. That's how it always goes.
Yeah.
Always
There's
with the baby
always
eating.
it always goes to baby eating constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
It's been that 1639. The baby eating has been around
It's been long.
for hundreds
Ever.
upon thousands of years.
For a long time, and man, all I know is I'm hungry for some Comet pizza.
I love it.
Mm.
But honestly, have you ever been to Bordy's?
No,
it is the only.
Is it good?
It's an abortionist slash
Good.
bowls. They just do bowls, and one of my favorite is just like they just put a whole slurry in there. It's just
That's
nice
good.
that at least it goes somewhere.
That is nice. That is very appropriate.
Yeah. And then you get some stem cells in the process, and you
Great.
look 2
Look
weeks
how
younger.
young I look.
Yeah. Wow.
Look how
Wow.
young
That's
I am.
incredible. That is
Yeah.
Those
incredible.
edibles
Beating back the
really,
clock.
they aged you fast.
Well, incredibly, when the clergy and local authorities investigated these claims of witchcraft, riding brooms, eating babies, they found the confessions of these children to be valid.
Oh, valid.
All 50 schoolgirls were sentenced to be burned at the stake.
Now that is just a lot of work
Oh,
for me.
yeah.
I'm the executioner, guys.
Also, just
come on.
how annoying would that be to get them all in there? You know what I mean?
Well,
Because they're all
would you-
yelling. Because these kids are already kind of loud. They're crazy. You know, the idea of getting them all ready to burn them at the stake and stuff.
Do you do
spread
it
amongst,
once?
No, you spread it amongst like 10 days. 5 girls a day.
5 girls a day, all but individual burnings.
Yeah.
Yeah, each one's got to be.
No, No. You do it in a line.
multiples?
You do it in a line.
Oh, God.
Wow, they don't even get to be special.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to go that way either.
It's honestly, it's crazy about how there's always been too many kids in the classroom.
Well, thankfully, though, some of the more clear-headed adults stepped in and told authorities that the kids had gotten those ideas from crazy old Antoinette Bouillon, who is locally known as a mentally unstable person.
Okay,
yes,
great.
I'm your local crazy bitch.
You got to have one.
That's my whole thing.
I love them.
The children were thereafter set free, and the case was closed.
Well,
Case closed. But did they apologize?
no.
Why would
They
they?
burned
Back
like
in the
50 girls to
No,
death.
they didn't
We don't
burn
even.
them.
We don't even
No, they didn't burn
apologize
them.
now.
None of them.
They told authorities, like, hey, they got these crazy ideas.
Before the burn.
Yeah, the children, I just said the children were set free. I just said that.
No, I know, but not all of
I
them.
just said that.
Okay. Fantastic. I wasn't sure if it was all of them or not all of them.
The children were thereafter set free.
But there was 50 total, so technically 10 still could have died.
Guys, please stop. This is mass hysteria.
This is mass
It's catching
hysteria.
on.
Rise from your grave.
Now, earlier, we mentioned Spring-Heeled Jack as an example of a mass hysteria.
Yes.
But Jack was not the only London creature to cause a fuss. 30 years before Jack, in 1803, Londoners in the Hammersmith district were supposedly haunted by a glass-eyed, horned ghost dressed in white.
Hello, boo and whatnot. I'm not a nerd. I'm dead.
Boo and whatnot.
Now, the rumors of sightings in Hammersmith very quickly turned into encounters. One man said that the ghost had risen from a grave and choked him, while rumors spread that 2 women had died of fright after they got spooked too hard by the Hammersmith Phantom.
Dude, how many people do you think Ashton Kutcher could have killed if he would have kept on with that show Punked?
He almost killed Frankie Muniz that one time.
Oh, you did?
That was funny.
Yeah, now Frankie Muniz can't remember nothing.
That was funny.
But I actually have this is a witness encounter of the Hammersmith ghost. It's from Thomas Groom. I was going through the churchyard between 8 and 9 o'clock with my jacket under my arm, my hands in my pocket, when some person came from behind a tombstone, in which there were only 4 square in the yard behind me, and caught me fast by the throat with both hands and held me fast. My fellow servant, who was going on before, hearing me scuffling, asked what was the matter, and then, whatever it was, gave me a twist around, and when I saw nothing, I gave a bit of a push out with my fist and felt something soft, like a great coat.
Weird. Okay, cool.
Well, citizens armed themselves. And
What are you going to do? Why is it? It's a ghost.
It's really interesting.
It's unclear.
But it's very specific. This story is really interesting because people said that they saw a physical guy but dressed as a ghost.
Okay.
But they were kind of creeped out by this guy that they were like all trying to decide whether or not he was a physical thing or a ghost. And so, but he was touching people. So people were like, well, he's got to be physical.
Yeah.
This is very, very similar to, you remember the good old days of the clowns, the clown sightings in the UK and the GIMP costume dude.
It was like 3 years ago.
That's still around. The GIMP costume guy is still around.
That was about 8, 9 years
Oh,
ago.
was it 2016? There was the clown sightings. And it was because it's interesting because they never really fully got to the point where people were shooting these clowns.
Not yet.
But people were really
Let's not
freaked
shoot
out.
the clowns. Let's not shoot them.
Yeah. And so that's the
You
thing.
hit them with a pie.
Yeah, they're clowns.
Yeah.
Bullets in it.
No. Well, that also wouldn't work. It wouldn't do anything.
But yeah, but then you show them and you're like, hey, think about this next time. There's bullets.
You spray them with the seltzer water, you throw a pie on them, and that's a clown's, that's how they feel shame.
You just call CPS.
Well, citizens armed themselves and patrolled the neighborhood to somehow apprehend or murder the ghost. But as it often goes when mass hysteria meets guns, tragedy struck when an armed citizen named Francis Smith happened upon a bricklayer named Thomas Millwood one night. Tragically, Thomas was dressed in white pants, a white shirt, and a white apron. That's the clothing of a bricklayer.
And he was actually told by his family to not dress like this.
Yeah.
You're like, listen, do not do this. They're looking for a guy dressed all in white right now. And he was just like, I'm a bricklayer. That's what I do. This is the uniform of a bricklayer.
He probably didn't have that many different clothes.
Yeah, probably not.
No, I think that he was
you dressed like
proud.
a bricklayer.
He was proud.
Yeah.
Well, mistaking Thomas Millwood for the ghost, Francis Smith got spooked and made a hamburger out of Millwood's face with the shotgun, killing him.
Yep.
Smith was tried and convicted for murder, but his death sentence was commuted to 1 year of hard labor for the extenuating circumstances created by a ghost panic.
Interesting.
'Cause this is the first time they tried to figure out in court at this time period about, are you excused for murder if you believe that person is a ghost?
Yeah.
And then they don't know. It actually was not. It was settled way later on. They eventually they were like, no, you murdered, and then they got him out of jail later. But later on, they were like, no, just because you believe in ghosts doesn't mean you can like openly murder anybody with the sheet on their head, unless they are obviously Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, you can kill them.
I mean, you still get in trouble, but we'll all like you.
Yeah, I won't tell you.
Well, interestingly, however, it was eventually learned that the quote-unquote ghost had actually been real after a fashion. The ghostly figure in white had actually been a shoemaker who was wearing the costume to frighten his apprentice because the apprentice had been scaring the shoemaker's children with ghost stories.
Just a funny guy. Just a funny guy. Got a guy murdered. Yeah, murdered for a fucking bit.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, while some mass hysterias are very much outward operations, sometimes the consequences are inflicted inward, as they were during the Halifax slasher incident of 1938. One night in November, two young women named Mary and Gertrude.
Definitely a young women's name.
Yes.
They were attacked at the local mill where they worked by what they said was a mysterious man with a mallet and bright buckles on his shoes.
Cool.
It's the leprechaun.
I want to be gold.
Oh.
I thought it would be a big clown. I imagined it like Bozo the Clown.
No, they don't wear buckles in clowns. I don't see buckles in clowns.
I see him as a munchkin.
You do.
I
but
can
a
see a
big
munchkin.
A bunchkin.
Yeah, I could see that munchkin, yeah.
A big, so you mean a man, a regular-sized man.
Dressed as a munchkin
Uh-huh.
with a big mallet, like a Hummel character. He's got a pin.
Sure,
He's got,
sure.
in my head, it's like a gnome-like hat, like a Terry the Gnome style hat.
Yeah.
And he's got like a beard, and he's got a fancy little shoes and little tiny little pointed boots on. And he's got a big mallet.
Right.
Huh.
I could see it.
I for some reason associate mallets with clowns.
That's
Yeah.
unique. I don't.
Yeah, I could see it. Honestly, I see that.
Do you see it?
See, I see people like, I think of clock people.
Clock people. Yeah, I could see that.
Like wooden soldier guys.
yeah, like the Keebler.
Side stories
Keebler elves.
LPOTL@gmail.com. What do you associate mallets with? Clowns or clock people?
Interesting.
Absolutely.
We'll see. We'll see how that
We'll
shakes
use
out.
the mallet to fix the clock.
Well, after the attack, Mary and Gertrude ran to a nearby house with facial wounds inflicted by a razor blade, supposedly perpetrated by the man with bright buckles on his shoes.
Very similar to the stories of Spring Hill Jack. And you remember the butt slasher in
Yeah.
Brooklyn?
Oh, well, the
Yes,
butt
that was
slasher was
bad.
very real.
Yes.
Like, that was
Very real.
But I
absolutely
mean,
real.
like, it's weird. The slashing epidemics have happened before and,
Oh, yeah.
and continue to happen.
Now, Halifax had been gripped in a slashing epidemic a little over a decade earlier, when a man named James Leonard stalked and slashed the clothing of 6 women in town. He, however, was ruled out of the 1938 attacks on account of how none of the witnesses described his abnormally large nose.
Oh, really?
It was so big.
saves me again.
It was so big that if you saw it,
Yeah.
you would notice it. That's the first thing you would say.
Nose.
Yeah.
So in this case, the big nose saved him.
Yeah.
Well, he slashed a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not good.
No.
Yeah. On account of the nose.
I know. The nose knows.
No, within just a few days after Mary and Gertrude reported the man with the bright buckles, anxiety over slasher attacks had gripped the town. 5 days after the first attack, another young woman was supposedly attacked by a guy who cut her wrist. And 3 days later, another girl got slashed, and then another, and then another. By then, the newspapers picked up the story and gave it a name, the Halifax Slasher, which seemed to only create more slashing victims.
And if
I
it's
would believe
truly
that.
Canadian, he sent that a letter at some point and be like, actually, it's the St. Kenosha River Slasher. If you really want to know how to name a
exact
guy,
district.
you need to
Yeah.
know where the man lives.
You don't want to do it that way.
Halifax, England.
Oh.
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
I'm fucking
Yeah.
whatever,
Wow,
man.
Canadians just got you.
I know,
You
I'm
got
sorry.
got by
I
Canadians.
got.
Well, vigilante groups began patrolling the streets, beating up anyone who wasn't known to the mob personally.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And one of the girls escalated the story by saying she had been attacked by a man wielding something called a dirty Macintosh.
I have to look up that.
No, dude, I tried looking up what a dirty Macintosh is. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't find it.
What's a dirty Macintosh?
Maybe if I asked Chat GPT.
No,
Oh,
don't,
no, AI.
don't ask it.
Mhm.
Don't
dirty
ask
Mac
it.
or dirty Mac, and a dirty Mac is
It's a weapon.
It says here that it's a when you come in a Yeti water bottle and you put it in your girlfriend's ass and you fuck her as she shits. And then it also says here.
Does it really say that?
Yes, I'm on the. This is incredible.
That sounds like a bit of an improv. I don't think that's
this
what
is a
it's
dirty
doing.
Mac.
It is a
I
dirty
want it right here.
Mac.
Dirty Mac. A dirty Mac is a fool who's trying to get at the same female as yourself.
Oh, like Return of the Mac.
Yeah.
Like a Mac.
That's that
Like
dirty
a Mac. Like a Mac Daddy.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think that's what they were referencing.
That guy's all that. And he's a
Because-
bag of chips.
Yes, of course. That would be a snack.
But by the end of the month, one of the
Yes.
victims, one Percy Waddington,
Ooh, Percy.
Waddington, he admitted that he'd actually inflicted the razor wound on himself.
You know what they say here also, and according to the other one, Dirty Mac Brigade is in England. It's
Yes.
it's dirty old men in a group.
Dirty old man on a group. But this woman said that she was attacked by a man wielding something that,
Cold.
quote, felt like a dirty Macintosh.
I don't know.
He's a fool that's trying to go after somebody else's woman.
That's the only thing
Mm-hmm.
I could decide.
Well, after Percy Waddington admitted that he'd slashed himself, 9 of the 12 victims admitted that they'd also slashed themselves.
Yeah.
Jeez,
yeah.
you're wasting
Well,
time.
Yeah.
now you're just like in this trap of like everybody's getting attention out of this thing. It feels really crazy, and I wonder why. Again, why?
Well, they're both creating and participating in the panic.
And
Gotta
then
have fun.
perpetuating the panic, which then actually kind of gives you something to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, boredom is really the underlying story here.
And the idea of jumping into, because we all like group things.
Yeah. And it's 1930, but I don't know about boredom because it's 1938. Like, this is the war years. Like, Germany is
You cut yourself.
actively bombing.
Well,
Yeah,
I feel like
man.
that's
UK.
actually, I think that you just spelled it out right there. It's what
Perhaps.
we've talked about is about stress.
Yeah,
And
about
so
stress.
if you are
Maybe
getting
stress.
bombed and you're in this place, that is definitely a way to sort of express it. Because
Yeah.
again, because weirdly,
Cut yourself. Yeah.
it's not about the war anymore.
Yeah.
No.
You've been
It's about-
you're in this war. You've been experiencing it. Now it's something else. Now it's butt slashing.
It's about the bombs that don't explode. It's about the bombs you don't drop.
Yeah.
That's what war is.
That's what Hitler's jazz was all about. I'm just glad we're here on 420 really
Man,
talking about
that guy really knew how to tweak. You see that video of him at the Olympics?
Yeah, him just
Fucking
rocking back and forth on meth.
Tweaking, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on speed.
Hard
But like,
tweaking.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, man.
He was a weird guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
weird guy.
Real strange guy.
Strange. Yeah.
Well, perhaps the
it's his
strange.
birthday today.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
Yeah.
420.
Columbine as well.
Yep, I remember that.
What a day.
Yeah.
And weed, bro.
Oh my God.
2 out of 3.
Is it not the loss of innocence for America today?
It could be.
I don't know, man. I think
Columbine.
that started July 4th, 1776.
Shut up. No.
Yeah, think about it.
I mean, I am. It doesn't
Think
make
about
sense. You haven't made sense once
I
yet.
am fucking-
Almost 2 hours.
I
not
am
making sense.
trapped inside of a prison of my own brain.
Oh.
But perhaps the strangest modern mass epidemic occurred in 1963 in the country of Tanzania in East Africa, just a month after they gained their independence from the United Kingdom. There, a teenage girl at a missionary boarding school began having a fit of anxiety-induced laughter, and pretty soon, she and her friends were all laughing uncontrollably.
Every one of
That's
these
scary.
things happening at boarding schools and convents, every story of mass hysteria amongst little girls all feels like anime movies.
Yeah, it really does.
All I know is as a performer who does comedy, great crowd.
It's not-
This crowd is great.
They're not smizing though. Like it's ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I
ha,
don't
ha,
care. I
like-
just want to hear it.
Oh, you just want to hear the empty, hollow laughter.
Well, that's all I search. That's what I seek.
Ha ha ha. Hmm.
Ha 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 ha.
Just give me noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, before long, 95 out of the 159 students were unable to stop laughing. They were sent home, but then the laughter spread to their families and thereafter throughout their communities.
This can only mean one thing. Fluffy has arrived in Africa.
Whoa, Gabriel Iglesias. He's really famous.
Yes.
Well, the Junji Ito-like epidemic spread to thousands of people all over the region and lasted for months, long enough where the schools were closed. In some cases, the laughter would only last 2 hours, but in other people, they could suffer for weeks.
Ask
In-
Natalie.
In one case, it was a year before
Jesus
someone
Christ.
stopped laughing.
Would
very
you rather
interesting.
do nonstop laughing or nonstop hiccuping?
Laughing.
Hiccuping. Because then at least you could get stuff done. Like you could talk still. If you're laughing, you can't talk.
Hiccuping makes me feel crazy.
Yeah.
I do hate a hiccup.
Yeah.
I hate a hiccup. I love to laugh.
But if you, but I
I was
guess
going to say that in my obituary.
But you're also in your mind, you're in hell.
yeah,
But
I am
your
already.
face
though.
is like,
You're just talking about generalized anxiety and OCD.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm already there.
Yeah. You're here, man.
Yeah, I'm in a nightmare up top. It's fun out here.
Well, soon the laughter turned into uncontrollable crying, aimless running, and violent aggression. There was no physical reason why any of this started, or any physical reason why any of it stopped. The only theory anyone could come up with was that the schoolgirls were increasingly stressed by the alien environment of a Christian missionary boarding school.
At first, I thought you meant of like the aerial school phenomenon.
Yeah,
that alien.
That's an alien environment.
That would have
but a
been
different kind of
interesting.
alien
Maybe
environment.
they just missed the queen. Oh, I doubt it.
The Queen
Of England.
This is
Roll on.
1963.
Yeah, just keep going. She just started.
1963.
This is when she just started.
Had been in power at that point by like 9 years.
This is when she was like fuckable.
Yeah.
That's how long
Yeah,
ago
but
this
they.
was.
But
Yeah.
I'm saying they no longer have control, so they missed the queen.
Okay, now I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say, actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's because, I mean, it's a transitional anxiety.
Wow.
Like, the country's finally
Look at that.
set free from colonial bonds. They've got, I mean, this is the
I didn't have
makings.
to fucking write that down.
You really didn't.
Great.
That's
Yeah,
a
you
good
could-
idea. I mean, you said it in a way that I didn't understand, but I liked what you
Well,
said.
do the way you wrote it.
I think it works.
I think it works. All
I
right.
think it works.
Cool.
Do what you mean. Do that.
Have you
The
heard about
triangle, the triangle of trust has spoken. I acquiesce.
Have you heard that there's that new school supply sale coming up? It's class hysteria.
Okay.
Why not?
Why not?
Well, perhaps the most well-known epidemic in modern times, however, is the Japanese Pokemon panic of 1997.
This is
Whoa,
freaky too.
what is this?
Have you heard of this?
No.
Do you know about this?
No.
Have you heard about this?
I haven't.
Have you heard about this?
So I didn't even realize Pokemon was out in 97.
Yeah,
But I
it was-
guess it's been around for a long time.
It was on its 38th episode.
No shit.
Mhm. But that year, over 12,000 children exhibited physical symptoms ranging from nausea to seizures after watching an episode of Pokemon called Computer Warrior Porygon.
Okay.
Now, at first, the sickness that eventually came to be known as Pokemon shock.
And that's normally when you have one of those little balls up in your vagina
your
for too
vagina.
long.
In your vagina. Yes.
I didn't even write that down. I didn't come up with
You
any.
didn't write that
I didn't
down
wrote-
at
No,
all.
I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, didn't write that down at all.
That was
See that?
it was attributed to a photosensitive epileptic fit triggered by the bright flashing lights used in the episode when Ash and Pikachu went into the computer.
Well, because that's what I thought at
Wow,
first. I thought
weird.
this really was just a response to the lights, but it was more complicated than that.
Well, more complicated in a way that we don't understand. Those same flashes, they'd been used in previous Pokemon episodes, and they've been used in other anime. In fact, this tension-building technique of different colored lights flashing over and over again, it was used so often that it has a name. Paka Paka.
oh well.
Oh.
And so, like, you feel like people should have been used to it at this point.
Or that's not even necessarily that they would have been used to it, but if it was the flashing lights, it would have happened before this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, after this episode in particular, over 600 children were taken to the hospital complaining of shortness of breath, nausea, and blurred vision. The event then got picked up by the news, who unwisely re-aired the segment in its entirety during the newscast.
You mean this segment? Yeah, they all jumped up. Oh, yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah. I mean, it really could be. But anyway, as a result, a further 12,000 kids were afflicted.
Yeah, they just did it again.
Oh
They did it to
my
everybody.
God.
But I mean, I actually just thought about this. Maybe it could be. I mean, Pokemon was an incredibly popular show from the beginning.
Yeah.
It could be that when it was used in other episodes,
Not as many people saw
it didn't have as big of an audience.
Who knows?
And people didn't pay attention. People didn't put together the dots. They didn't connect the dots.
Dark world of Pokemon.
Also, is there something to the order of the lights and the colors of it that maybe could affect the human brain?
I don't know.
Yes.
You saying yes?
Yes.
I'll take your word for it. That's the
probably.
expert that I know to my left.
Well, probably. Why not?
Now, the Pokemon case is fascinating, not just for the speed at which it happened, but for how something so large can happen so quickly without any real scientific explanation as
Yeah.
to why it happened. To this day, no one is really sure what happened.
That's
and to make
weird.
And to make sure the episode has never been re-aired.
Really?
Yeah, not in
And we
Japan.
gotta
Not in
see
Japan.
this.
We're going to show it on the stream.
Yeah, not
I
in
wanna
Japan at
see
least.
it.
Yeah, you can find it, but it's never
Yeah.
been re-aired on TV in Japan.
97. Wow.
Now, scientists who have studied the causes of mass sociogenic illness have had largely inconclusive findings.
Good, great.
Mostly this is because these illnesses are so spontaneous and they're so difficult to see while they're happening, especially hard to see by the people it's happening to.
I love the Mueller report of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. And I love our experts, right? All of our experts, their big old brains and their large books.
Does anyone wear their It's Mueller time shirts anymore?
No, that fashion is past.
Now I remember that. Yeah.
It's Mueller time.
Mueller time.
I love that
Was it
German
really-
Inquisitor.
Was it Mueller?
It's fucking Mueller.
Okay.
It's
Mueller. Yeah.
Yeah, but the concept of you're dealing with an issue that is widespread and immediate, and then, as we have all discovered, as we've gotten older, when you're trying to figure out how to get an answer from all these various experts, these people that work for the government, and they just kind of want to button up whatever situation's going on real fast. They just want to just have it be done.
They just want to go on spring break.
Yes, they just want to wrap it up. Yeah, and so they look at you, and as soon as it's, mysterious, they're like,
It's like working for the weekend is great in theory unless you're in charge of our nukes.
Yeah.
Can you work for Tuesday?
Yeah. Like, unfortunately, I know it's a Sunday, but you're in charge of the Department of Transportation, Mr. Buttigieg.
You got him. Speaking of Pokemon, he's a little.
He likes the Pokemon.
Wow. I was going with a size joke, but then you came in and totally redeemed yourself. This whole
joke. Good
episode,
job.
complete C
Way to
work.
go.
And then boom, an A+, bringing you to a B.
That's all I need.
Well, there's no pattern when trying to identify social, psychological, or physical characteristics to find groups more susceptible than others when it comes to mass hysteria. People of every race, age, socioeconomic status, mental stability, nationality, all of us are capable of falling into a mass hysteria of some kind or another. As far as we know, nobody is immune from mass sociogenic illness. No matter how strong you think you are, no matter how smart you believe yourself to be. I know there's people out there going, nah, not me.
You got that person you made up in your mind.
That's how you win an argument at all times. I invent the other side, and then I go, "Oh, well, fuck you and your mother," and then it's done. And I deny I'm brilliant.
If the right button gets pushed in your lizard brain, then you too could lose yourself in a torrent of mass hysteria. In other words, reality is ultimately a construct created by human consensus.
You know, buddy, we right now need to be stabilizing figures. I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm loving the diatribe to wrap it up.
Bro, we can change how we perceive reality dangerously fast.
Why don't we just perceive it like it is?
You know
now?
what you need is some tincture.
Yeah.
Then you'll be back in.
I just don't know if we need to be like, it's all wiggly woggly. Why don't we just be like, yo, but some things are set in stone?
No. What I'm trying to say is that you actually got to hold on to yourself harder, because we can change how we perceive reality dangerously fast, especially when we've got other people of our same peer group telling us to do so. Again, I bring up January 6th, when hundreds of people stormed the Capitol, fully convinced by their political and media leaders that they would be going down in history books as the saviors of the Republic for rescuing the country from a satanic cult.
Little did they know that entire thing is going to be purged from the history books.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they just wandered around filming themselves.
They loved it.
Like the spell, you saw the spell being broken. They don't know what to do once they
got
get
here,
there.
and they're like, it's like, what they say. It's the Joker. If he got a hold of the car, would he even know what to do with it?
Well, you steal the car, take it, drive it around. It's more of a dog scenario, I think.
It is, but he attributed to the Joker in the film.
Did they? Oh. This new one's going to be interesting. Okay.
So close.
So close.
But that is to say, when anxiety is whipped up hard enough over a long period of time, people can convince themselves that anything is true. And when that happens, you better make damn sure that you or your group aren't the ones in the crosshairs.
Little Dan Carlin right at the end.
Wow, little Dan Carlin, mass hysteria.
I like the wrap up.
Thank you. In the crosshairs.
I don't necessarily, again, I'm 50-50 on it.
On mass hysteria.
On the conclusion.
On the conclusion?
Yeah.
All right.
Crosshairs, everyone's getting shot.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of mass hysterias do and end in murder.
That's violence.
Sometimes when you catch yourself simping hard for some woman, you found yourself deep in the middle of lass hysteria.
There you go. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
And I hope that you did.
And if you're a
it's
particularly big fan of UK punk, you might find yourself in crass hysteria.
Yes!
Wow.
Kissel?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I think about hysteria, I always think about, well, I actually, let's fishing,
good
bass
today.
hysteria. You're good today.
And if you're a particularly big fan of ska music,
yes.
you might find yourself in brass hysteria.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
good.
Very good.
Oh, God.
Ass. Pass.
Yeah, anything that
Mass.
rhymes with it there. you can-
Grass.
There
That's
you go.
what I'm experiencing today is
Yes,
grass hysteria.
there
And
you
if you're
go.
a skeptic of UFOs, you might find yourself in Philip J. Class hysteria.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.
He got out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm out. Oh, I'm done. I am done. Do we have anything to say? To wrap it up?
No, not
Just
anymore.
fucking
No.
enjoy your time, ladies and gentlemen.
We do have a lot of things coming up, but we're not ready to announce. But if
Yes.
you go to Z2 Comics, you can purchase Last Comic Book on the
You
left
can
volume
pre-order
3.
it.
You can
It's-
pre-order
yeah,
it.
you can pre-order.
But we're gonna make sure that they come out on time.
Yeah.
Just like Mussolini. We're gonna make sure that those comics come out, and we can't wait for you guys to see what we're working on now.
Guaranteeing it. Actually, guaranteeing it.
Oh, that's a great.
That's not
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Problems. Yeah.
Guarantee.
Guarantee.
And also today is it's already passed, but Spring Hill Jack Coffee was doing a 420 special. If you buy any sort of coffee, it's too late because they were going to give it to the Last Prisoner Project. But they're going to start selling shirts of the design that they just did, which is fucking awesome.
Great design.
Spring Hill Jack, and then a chunk of that money is going to go to Last Prisoner Project.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And next week, what's going to be fun is that we're actually going to be going on a bit of a spring break. We're giving everyone the week off, including ourselves.
I mean, I'll be worrying.
Yeah, worrying. Of course, not a break.
Spin
for worrying.
around a bunch.
Yeah, we'll do this kind of stuff.
But we're going to do a little best of, and then we're going to be back the next week with some blood.
We're going to have some big
All
drippy blood, and then I think we're jumping into some historical periods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Other
We're going to be
drippy
jumping
bloods.
into some
Speaking of drippy blood,
particularly big
when did the
historical
tampon
period.
come out? We'll cover that.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's the
All
whole
right, everyone.
history of the tampon. And you know what? Every woman listener can't wait to hear our perspective on the
Absolutely.
nature of the tampon.
I'm a fan of free bleeding. Why not? Let me know where you've been.
And speaking of free bleeding, come to see Wizard of the Bruiser and Page 7 live with the Release the Butthole Cut tour. Let me give you a rundown of
Will
these
they
dates.
ever release the butthole cut?
No, because then they have to stop
cats?
the show.
They really should.
You think so?
I want to know what the butthole looks like on these cats.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go find a cat and take a look at a butthole.
No, but I want to see the CGI because someone had to work really hard on it, which is kind of funny to think
I
about.
would
Yeah.
just say everybody just, leave the cat alone.
Leave the cat
May
alone.
9th, 2023, Salt Lake City. May 10th, Granwood Village, Colorado.
Oh.
May 11th, Las Vegas, baby. June 21st, Portland. June 22nd, Tacoma, Washington. July 11th, Oklahoma City, OK. And July 12th, Kansas City, Missouri. Go and
they're
check it
gonna
out.
love that barbecue. Yes, also May 7th. That's right. I'll be doing in Brea. I'll be doing a Hail Yourself.
Oh, yeah, Brea Improv, which is great. We'll
Come
love that
out for that. All right, everyone, hail yourselves.
Hail yourselves.
Again.
Congratulations.
Why don't you give yourself, hail yourself, of course.
Hail
And if
yourself.
you're done with that, hail me.
There you go. Don't go crazy.
Try
Good.
not. Try
Good
not.
advice.
Try not. Try not to.
This show is made possible by listeners like you. Thanks to our ad sponsors, you can support our shows by supporting them. For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to lastpodcastnetwork.com.